Welcome to History Unveiled. Today we dive into the enigmatic world of the Freemasons, one of the most famous secret societies in history, shrouded in mystery, myth, and conspiracy theories. From their humble origins as medieval stonemason guilds to their evolution into a global fraternal organization with members including historical figures such as George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Mozart, and even royalty, the story of the Freemasons is as complex as it is fascinating. In this video, we'll explore how and why the Freemasons were formed, what they did, and still do, in terms of ritual, symbolism, and charity, what they believe in and how their core principles have evolved, the controversies and conspiracy theories that surround them, and finally, a look at modern-day Freemasonry and its ongoing transformation. So, join us on this journey through time as we unravel the secrets and reveal the history of the Freemasons. Origins of the Freemasons. To understand modern Freemasonry, we must first journey back to the Middle Ages. Freemasonry's roots lie in the operative stonemasons guilds, the craftsmen responsible for constructing the cathedrals, castles, and bridges that still define the European landscape today. During the medieval period, skilled stonemasons organized themselves into guilds to protect their trade secrets, ensure quality workmanship, and provide mutual support. These guilds developed elaborate codes of conduct, secret signs, handshakes, and even initiatory rituals, a means of identifying a qualified mason when they traveled from one construction site to another. For instance, early documents like the Regius manuscript, circa 1390 to 1425, mention words and signs used by masons to recognize each other on building sites. Over time, as the need for large-scale stone construction waned and the art of building evolved, many of these guilds began accepting honorary members who were not stone workers. These accepted or speculative masons, often gentlemen with interests in philosophy, science, or the arts, were drawn to the symbolism and ethical teachings that had developed within the craft. This transformation laid the foundation for modern Freemasonry. The shift from operative to speculative Freemasonry did not happen overnight. It began gradually during the 16th and 17th centuries, particularly in Scotland and England. Scottish records show that even in the late 1500s, some lodges began admitting non-operative members. One notable document is the Shaw Statutes, 1598 to 1599, issued by William Shaw, who regulated the activities of masons in Scotland. These statutes not only regulated the craft but also established the framework for later rituals and secret signs that would become hallmarks of modern Freemasonry. By the early 18th century, speculative Freemasonry was fully emerging as a distinct entity. On the 24th of June 1717, in London, 4 existing lodges gathered at the Goose and Gridiron Alehouse in St. Paul's Churchyard to form what is now recognized as the First Grand Lodge. This historic meeting is often cited as the official birth of modern Freemasonry. Though the early Grand Lodge was formed by operative lodges, the admission of non-operative members had already shifted the focus to symbolism, allegory, and moral instruction. Following the establishment of the First Grand Lodge in London, Freemasonry rapidly expanded throughout Britain and later across Europe, North America, and beyond. As the organization grew, different Grand Lodges emerged, each with its own traditions and interpretations of Masonic ritual. The Premier Grand Lodge of England. On the 24th of June 1717, the 4 London lodges that met at the Goose and Gridiron Alehouse elected Anthony Sayer as their first Grand Master. Although little is known about Sayer, his election marks the beginning of a new era. The new organization soon expanded outside London, with lodges appearing in Bath, Bristol, Norwich, and other cities across England. The newly formed Grand Lodge was later known as the Premier Grand Lodge of England, a title used to distinguish it from other Masonic bodies that emerged later. In the 1720s and 1730s, figures such as George Payne and John Theophilus Desaguliers, a scientist and clergyman, played significant roles in shaping the ritual and structure of Freemasonry. In 1723, Desaguliers' contemporary, the Presbyterian minister James Anderson, published the Constitutions of Freemasonry. This book, which set out the charges or moral obligations for Masons, also presented a mythologized history of the craft, linking it back to biblical figures like King Solomon and even Euclid. As Freemasonry spread, a schism emerged. Many Masons, particularly those with roots in Ireland and Scotland, felt that the rituals and practices of the Premier Grand Lodge had strayed from the ancient traditions. In 1751, a group of unaffiliated lodges formed what became known as the Ancient Grand Lodge of England, often called the Ancients. Its members claimed that their rituals were more authentic and rooted in the original practices of operative Masonry. They referred to the Premier Grand Lodge as the Moderns, a term that, although initially pejorative, has persisted in Masonic history. Key figures in this period included Lawrence Dermot, who served as Grand Secretary of the Ancients. Dermot's new Book of Constitutions, known as Arhiman Rezon, first published in 1756, was both a revision of Masonic ritual and a polemic against the moderns. His work added both scholarly detail and biting satire to the lore of Freemasonry. Dermot's influence was such that even after the eventual union of the two Grand Lodges, many of his ideas and rituals remained central to Masonic practice. The division between the ancients and the moderns persisted until the early 19th century. In a bid to resolve the schism, and in part due to external pressures such as the Unlawful Societies Act of 1799, which threatened organizations bound by secret oaths, the two Grand Lodges began negotiations for union. By 1813, after several years of compromise and reformation of rituals to reconcile differences, the two bodies united to form the United Grand Lodge of England, UGLE. The new organization was established on the 27th of December 1813, with the Duke of Sussex serving as its Grand Master. This union not only cemented the Masonic system in England but also provided a model for the expansion of Freemasonry throughout the British Empire. Lodges were soon established in North America, India, Africa, and beyond, spreading the ideals of brotherhood, charity, and moral improvement across continents. From the 18th century onward, Freemasonry grew alongside the expansion of the British Empire. In North America, for example, lodges were established even before the American Revolution. Many of the founding fathers, including George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, were Freemasons, a fact that has fueled countless debates and conspiracy theories regarding the influence of Freemasonry on the formation of modern democratic ideals. In Europe, Freemasonry became associated with the Enlightenment, with its emphasis on reason, liberty, and fraternity. However, its progressive image also led to fierce opposition from established religious institutions, most notably the Roman Catholic Church, which condemned Freemasonry for what it saw as its secretive rituals and deistic tendencies. Rituals, symbolism, and beliefs. One of the enduring mysteries of the Freemasons is their elaborate system of rituals and symbolism. While some claim that these rituals hide nefarious secrets, for many Freemasons the symbolism serves as an allegorical framework for personal improvement and moral conduct. Modern Freemasonry is organized into a series of degrees that a member must progress through. In the basic or craft or Blue Lodge system, there are 3 primary degrees. Entered Apprentice, the initiation into Freemasonry, symbolizing the candidate's entry into a lifelong journey of learning and self-improvement. Fellow Craft, or Fellow Mason, this degree represents the further development of a Mason's knowledge and understanding of the symbolic architecture of life. Master Mason, the culmination of the craft degrees, where the initiate is entrusted with the deeper moral and esoteric lessons of the fraternity. Each degree involves a ritualized ceremony that employs symbols drawn from the world of stone masonry. For example, the tools of the trade, such as the square, compasses, level, and plumb rule, are used as metaphors for virtues like honesty, fairness, and uprightness. These tools remind members that, much like a mason shapes a rough stone into a refined structure, a person must shape their character through discipline and moral rectitude. A recurring theme in Masonic ritual is the legend of King Solomon's Temple. According to Masonic lore, the temple was constructed using the skills of master masons, and its architect, Hiram Abiff, has become a symbolic figure representing integrity, sacrifice, and the pursuit of truth. The myth recounts how Hiram Abiff, the chief architect, was murdered for refusing to divulge the secret passwords of the craft. His story is recited during the Master Mason degree and serves as a moral allegory about fidelity, the inevitability of death, and the hope of immortality. Despite popular misconceptions, Freemasonry is not a religion, nor does it promote a particular creed. Instead, its basic requirement is that each member must believe in a supreme being, the great architect of the universe. This belief is deliberately non-denominational, allowing men of different religious backgrounds, whether Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or otherwise, to join the fraternity. The emphasis is on personal faith and moral improvement rather than adherence to a fixed set of theological doctrines. Freemasonry teaches its members to pursue virtues such as brotherhood. Every Mason is expected to support and help his fellow man, regardless of background or status. Charity. Freemasons have a long history of philanthropic work, funding hospitals, scholarships, and other charitable initiatives. Moral and ethical living. Through allegorical rituals, members are encouraged to reflect upon their actions, seek self-improvement, and contribute positively to society. While the exact content of Masonic secrets remains confidential, many Masonic writings and lectures emphasize that the true secret of the craft is the journey of self-discovery and ethical development. No discussion of Freemasonry is complete without addressing the myriad conspiracy theories that have surrounded the organization for centuries. From claims of hidden global domination to accusations of satanic rituals, these theories have been fueled by the organization's secretive nature and selective public communication. Most scholarly research, however, suggests that the conspiracies are exaggerated. For instance, while movies like Dan Brown's novels have popularized the notion of a shadowy cabal controlling world affairs, historians point out that Freemasonry is a voluntary fraternal organization dedicated to ethical living and community service. Many of these theories gained traction during periods of social and political upheaval. In 1826, the mysterious disappearance of William Morgan in America led to the formation of the Anti-Masonic Party, a political movement that viewed Freemasonry as dangerous and subversive. Over the centuries, both state authorities and rival religious institutions have at times banned or suppressed Freemasonry, further stoking public suspicion. In reality, while the organization does maintain some secrecy, mainly to protect the privacy of its ritual and internal processes, the vast majority of its activities today are charitable, educational, and social. Modern lodges are increasingly open, with many grand lodges hosting public tours, lectures, and community events to dispel myths and promote transparency. Freemasonry and historical figures. Freemasonry's influence over history has been immense, and its membership has included many of the world's most illustrious figures. Perhaps the most famous American Freemason is George Washington, whose membership has sparked debates about the role of Freemasonry in the American Revolution. Washington's participation in Masonic rituals and ceremonies has been well documented, from his initiation as an entered apprentice in 1752 to his involvement in ceremonial events such as the cornerstone laying of the U.S. Capitol. In colonial America, Freemasonry provided a fraternal network that transcended regional and social divisions. Many founding fathers, including Benjamin Franklin, saw the fraternity as a means to promote Enlightenment values such as reason, equality, and public service. Freemasonry's emphasis on civic virtue and moral rectitude resonated deeply with the revolutionary spirit of the time, even if the exact political influence of the organization remains a subject of debate. Across the Atlantic in Europe, Freemasonry became intertwined with the intellectual and artistic movements of the Enlightenment. In France, for instance, many liberal politicians and intellectuals met in Masonic lodges, discussing progressive ideas that would eventually contribute to the French Revolution. Although the organization was later condemned by the Catholic Church and faced repression in many Catholic states, its influence on European culture and politics cannot be denied. Composers like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart were also members of the fraternity. Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, is filled with Masonic symbolism, reflecting the influence that Masonic ideals had on his work. Likewise, writers, scientists, and philosophers found in Freemasonry a space for the free exchange of ideas, a space where the pursuit of truth and personal virtue was paramount. Throughout its history, Freemasonry has also attracted members of the nobility and royalty. In England, from the early days of the Premier Grand Lodge, noble figures have served as Grand Masters, often as figureheads meant to lend prestige and legitimacy to the organization. Even in modern times, members of royal families, such as the Duke of Kent and Prince Edward, have been closely associated with Freemasonry. Their participation underlines the organization's enduring appeal across different strata of society. Freemasonry in the modern age. Today, Freemasonry is a global organization with millions of members spread across more than 100 countries. Although its numbers have declined in some regions due to changing social attitudes, the core principles of the fraternity, brotherhood, charity, and the pursuit of truth remain as strong as ever. Modern Freemasons are known for their extensive charitable activities. In countries like the United States and the United Kingdom, Masonic charities provide support for hospitals, educational scholarships, and various community services. These charitable efforts are funded both by member dues and by public donations, reinforcing the organization's commitment to improving society. Facing criticism and conspiracy theories, many Grand Lodges have taken steps to become more open. For example, the United Grand Lodge of England now regularly hosts public tours and has made significant efforts to demystify its rituals. In Scotland, recent initiatives include lowering the joining age and transforming historic lodge buildings into venues for cultural and community events. One notable case involved the Grand Lodge of Scotland, where internal disputes led to the resignation of Rev. Canon Dr. Joseph Morrow, who had pledged to modernize the craft. Although the official reason for his departure was cited as personal, insiders later claimed that Morrow resigned after learning of a plot to oust him. Such internal conflicts underscore the challenges that traditional organizations face in balancing secrecy and tradition with modern expectations for transparency and inclusivity. Freemasonry today is not limited to Europe or North America. Lodges in Asia, Africa, and Latin America have adapted the core Masonic rituals to local cultures, while still upholding the fraternity's central ethical teachings. In many countries, Freemasonry is a symbol of community spirit and self-improvement. However, in some regions, particularly where religious or political conservatism is strong, Freemasonry still faces opposition and even outright bans. Controversies, conspiracy theories, and myths. Perhaps no aspect of Freemasonry has captured the public's imagination more than its alleged secrets and conspiracies. Over the centuries, a number of controversial theories have emerged, ranging from claims that Freemasons control world governments to assertions that they engage in occult rituals. The secrecy inherent in Masonic ritual has always invited speculation. In the 18th and 19th centuries, political opponents used Freemasonry as a scapegoat to explain social and political change. The disappearance of William Morgan in 1826, for example, sparked the anti-Masonic movement in America, as many suspected that the organization was involved in sinister plots. Similarly, in Europe, Authors such as John Robison and later Karl Marx hinted at hidden networks of power within Freemasonry. Modern historians largely agree that Freemasonry is not a secret society with a hidden agenda to control world events. While it is true that the organization has many confidential aspects, these are primarily related to the rituals and modes of recognition that have been preserved from its operative origins. Rather than being a vehicle for political domination or occult practices, Freemasonry is essentially a fraternal organization committed to personal development and charity. Nonetheless, conspiracy theories continue to persist. Films, novels, and even online forums have fanned the flames of speculation. Books such as Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code and various works on the Illuminati have conflated Masonic symbolism with darker interpretations of history. However, careful research shows that most of these theories are based on misinterpretations or deliberate distortions of Masonic texts and practices. It is important to note that secrecy in Freemasonry is not about hiding wrongdoing. It is about maintaining a tradition of privacy in order to foster a sense of trust and brotherhood among its members. Masons are taught that the secret of the craft is not an esoteric truth reserved for the few, but rather the moral and ethical journey each member embarks upon. In essence, the true secret is the process of self-improvement, a journey that is personal and cannot be easily communicated to outsiders. What Freemasons believe. One of the central tenets of Freemasonry is its requirement that every member must believe in a supreme being, often referred to in Masonic language as the Great Architect of the Universe. However, Freemasonry is not a religion, and it does not require adherence to any specific dogma. Instead, the fraternity is built on a common ethical framework that emphasizes faith and tolerance. Every Mason is required to profess a belief in a supreme being. This requirement is deliberately broad, allowing men of all religious backgrounds to join. Whether one is Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, or follows another spiritual path, the emphasis is on the universal idea of a divine creator. This openness has allowed Freemasonry to attract a diverse membership across cultures and continents. Personal and moral development. Freemasonry teaches that each member must work on perfecting himself, just as a mason shapes a rough stone into a beautiful structure. Through allegorical lessons and ritual dramas, members are encouraged to cultivate virtues such as honesty, integrity, charity, and brotherly love. Charity and social responsibility. Freemasons have a long tradition of charitable work. Masonic lodges frequently sponsor educational programs, health initiatives, and community projects. In many parts of the world, Masonic charities are responsible for significant contributions to society, reinforcing the idea that personal improvement should lead to the betterment of the community. Secrecy and symbolism. While many outsiders view secrecy as suspicious, within Freemasonry it is a mechanism to protect the integrity of the ritual and to create a bond among members. The symbolism, drawn from the world of stone masonry, serves as a reminder of the values of discipline, craftsmanship, and the pursuit of truth. Despite these universal principles, Freemasonry does not have a single creed or a fixed set of beliefs beyond the requirement for faith in a supreme being. Instead, it leaves it up to each Mason to interpret his own religious and moral obligations. This flexibility is one of the reasons why Freemasonry has endured for centuries. It adapts to the needs and ideas of its members while preserving an unchanging core of ethical teachings. Freemasonry has not only shaped the lives of its members but has also had an outsized impact on society and culture over the centuries. Although Freemasonry has always maintained that it is a non-political organization, its principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity resonated with many of the intellectual movements of the Enlightenment. In both Europe and America, Masons were at the forefront of debates on governance and individual rights. Even if Freemasonry did not directly control governments, its ideas contributed to the broader discourse that led to revolutions and the development of modern democratic states. Freemasonry's influence extends into the arts, architecture, and literature. From the ornate Masonic temples of London and Edinburgh to the recurring motifs in the works of Mozart and even in modern films and novels, the symbols and ideals of the Freemasons have permeated popular culture. For many, these cultural references serve as the primary window into the mysterious world of the craft. Today, Freemasonry faces a rapidly changing world. With membership numbers declining in some regions and new ideas about inclusivity and transparency challenging age-old traditions, many Grand Lodges are undergoing reform. Initiatives to lower the joining age, open up historic buildings to public tours, and modernize ritual practices are all part of the effort to ensure that the craft remains relevant in the 21st century. In recent years, controversies, both internal and external, have sometimes made headlines. For instance, high-profile resignations and disputes within lodges have sparked media interest and renewed conspiracy theories. However, these incidents, while dramatic, are part of a larger process of evolution as the organization grapples with balancing tradition with modernity. At its heart, Freemasonry is about building better men who, in turn, contribute to building better communities. Whether through support for the elderly, funding for hospitals, or educational scholarships, Masonic charities have helped shape social policy in many countries. This commitment to service has been a constant thread throughout the history of the fraternity and remains a core pillar of its identity. From its origins in the secretive guilds of medieval stonemasons to its evolution into a global fraternal organization with deep philosophical and charitable commitments, the history of the Freemasons is a story of transformation, resilience, and the enduring quest for truth. Whether you see Freemasonry as a benevolent force dedicated to self-improvement and community service, or as a secret society shrouded in mystery and controversy, there is no denying its profound impact on history and culture. Today, as many lodges open their doors to the public and modern reforms seek to balance tradition with transparency, the craft continues to evolve, just as it has for over 300 years. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the labyrinthine history of the Freemasons. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most intriguing secret societies, please give this video a like, subscribe to History Unveiled, and leave your comments below. Let us know what mysteries you'd like us to explore next. Until next time, remember, the real secret is the journey of self-improvement and the shared bonds of brotherhood that unite us all.